So there are two major paths. I want to talk about this from Huna. And to do either of these paths, you need to be ponno. Now, I'm just going to go over this big picture. We'll get a little bit more detailed on this tomorrow as well. The two major paths in life are the lesson of mastery. So looking here at the slide, on the left side, you have the lesson of mastery. And on the right side, you have what's called the lesson of life. So lesson of mastery is learning how to take the energy that you have from spirit, learn how to bring it down through your mind, focus it with your beliefs, your goals, cultivate positive emotions. That's the emotional body. Cultivate positive emotions, let go of any negative, and achieve your physical foundation. Achieve your grounding, your physical. Does this make sense? Lesson of mastery is most commonly associated with career and physical health. So from Huna, career and physical health is your lesson of mastery, learning how to bring in wealth. Now, I don't think everything's about the money, and the Hawaiians, in the ancient culture, they were ponno with being wealthy. It was okay. Uncle George passed away with so little money, and yet he was able to found 40 hula festivals. He could just manifest money. He could just bring in all of the resources because he had achieved a lesson of mastery on that path. Does this make sense? Okay? The right side, lesson of life, is rising up from that foundation and connecting to more positive emotions, cultivating your mind, and connecting with more energy. The right side is most commonly associated with personal growth and development and spirituality. It's more of an internal journey. So let me say that again. Left side is career, physical health. The right side is personal growth and development and spirituality. A relationship, like with your partner, can be on either side or both. A relationship could be on either side or it could be both. Here's what I mean by that. The typical couple who gets together in their 20s, they're usually a lesson of mastery couple. Let's buy a house. Let's get a retirement plan going. Let's do all of these things. It's accumulation. You all know what I mean? Once a couple has accumulated enough, what can sometimes happen is the couple can then begin to do more of a lesson of life, more of a purposeful-based relationship. Some couples just stay on one side or the other, and the only time you run into a problem with this is when one person wants to bring in more lesson of life and the other person doesn't. That's exactly what happened with me and my ex, with Skylar's mom. With the two of us, she is a lesson of mastery. She is a career woman. Terry knows her. She is a career woman. When we split up, half of the team that we had at that time were hired by her. The other half were by me. She wanted to tell the team that she had hired that she's leaving, that we're splitting up. And she said, and I quote, "I'm a career woman. Matt wants a more spiritual relationship, and that's just not me. And I don't want to change him, and he doesn't want to change me. I love who I am." She is a powerhouse woman. This is one of my favorite things that I love to say about my ex. She's a drug lord. Doesn't that sound so cool? Anytime I say that my ex is a drug lord, she always throws in the word legal. She's in the medical marijuana business. The place that she has where she grows this stuff, man, you drive by it, you get high. She's like, "I got some good shit." I'm like, "I'll pass on that." But it's so fun to say my ex is a drug lord, isn't it? Not many people can say that. Anytime I say it around her, she's always like, legal though. She's lesson of mastery. She didn't want to bring in more purposeful or a more spiritual connection. Now, that's 5 of the 6 areas. The last area is family. Family are the people that are on both sides of these paths that were placed here to fuck with you. I got some laughs on that one, but most of you are like this. Oh, man. Yeah, family. The Ho'oponopono helps so much with family. It absolutely does. And so we'll expand a little bit more on this when we, tomorrow morning. I'll expand a little bit more on this after we go through the language patterns that we're going to discuss today. The point here is that you've got to be ponno on either of these paths. If you're not ponno in your career, you're not going to bring in the wealth. If you're not ponno with your physical health, your body can give out with the things that you're doing. personal growth and development, spirituality. If you're not pono with yourself internally or pono with spirit or God, that's going to create a blockage on the path. So you need to be pono on both sides. Now, the Hawaiians had no way of saying, I'm sorry. So this is in the slide section. Those of you who are watching on the video, we have this in the slide section. This is how Hawaiians would say forgiveness. E kala mai ia'u. Forgiveness. There's no way of saying I'm sorry. Now, how many of you in here have learned the Ho'oponopono prayer? Hands up nice and high. The prayer was created from the process that I'm about to take you through. So to be really, really clear, I know in the prayer you say, I'm sorry. Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Len decided that for Western culture, it's easier to get people to understand it if you put sorry in there. You actually can't say, I'm sorry in the Hawaiian language. Because ancient languages are based on energy. Ancient languages are based on energy. So for example, in many of the ancient languages on this planet, you can't say goodbye because it was believed that you would never ever have a complete disconnect from someone. So for example, in Hawaiian, hello and goodbye is both aloha. Aloha is hello and goodbye. You can't actually say goodbye. In Hebrew, it's the same thing. You can't say goodbye. And so the idea that ancient languages were based on energy, I'm sorry, is a statement that ends right about here and doesn't ask for any response. Energy flows in both directions. Do you guys all get that? Energy goes out, energy comes back in. So ancient languages are based on an energy flow. I'm sorry ends right about here. And come on, how many of you ever had someone say, I'm sorry, and in your mind you're like, oh, not enough. Or even better yet, you will be. Right? Just listen carefully. If yesterday I said anything to you that offended, I'm sorry. See, look at you guys, there's no response. There's no feeling that there needs to be a response. I want you to feel the difference. If there's anything that I said yesterday that offended you, please forgive me. I see so many more of you nodding. Do you feel the difference? So the first thing that you got to learn with a forgiveness process is to give and receive forgiveness. Now, forgiveness doesn't make what happened right. Forgiveness is you being free of the baggage. It was so interesting when I studied Ho'oponopono. I'd already been teaching it, and when I studied it for the research to become a doctor, I cited so many case studies of people who craved forgiveness. The people who are the most wronged, like have their boundaries have been just crushed, they're the ones that want forgiveness first. Case example, there was a woman whose son had been murdered, and in court after the verdict had been read, the person who had murdered her son, she got to stand up and speak to him. And she said, I now need to forgive you, and I'm asking for forgiveness too because I need to move forward. And it confuses everyone else because all the other people standing behind her are holding signs saying, kill him, and they're having trouble forgiving. In Rwanda, the people that had experienced genocide, the genocide that occurred there, the only thing that helped repair and help people get back on track was a forgiveness process. And the families and the areas that had been the most affected, they were the ones that wanted to forgive the people that had done the wrong so much because they know they need to be free of it. So forgiveness does not equal it's okay. Do you all get that? So we're going to give and receive forgiveness. In the Hawaiian culture, there were three things that you could do that were wrong. One is hala, heva, and ino. Hala, if you guys want to write this down, means to miss the path. You miss the path. Hala is to miss the path. That's a fancy way of saying you think that you should be going down one path, but actually you should be going down another. Simple example of that, student raises their hand, asks me a question, and I start answering, and I've had students go, actually that's not my question. Awesome, I just kind of missed the path. So you are required to give and receive forgiveness if there was a hala. We've all done that. We've all missed the path. Heva is to go overboard. How many of you have ever gone overboard? How many have gone to excess, gone overboard? Okay, so when we were in Italy, and Ethan called me a dick in front of these other kids, I remember so vividly. I stood up, I walked to the other side of the table, I leaned into his ear, and I said, if you ever call me a dick again, I will fucking end you. Yeah, yeah. That's a heva. Some of you were like, I really wasn't going to end him, although, the thought popped into your head, and sometimes you have no filter, right? So I went into the bathroom, I splashed water on my face, and I went, okay, that was overboard. I'm going to do ho'oponopono. We're going to clean this up. I excused myself. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I'm free of my baggage now. I let it go. Ethan comes into the kitchen, and I said, Ethan, I would like to start. And he's like, Dad, wait. No, I'm like, no, buddy, I'd like to start. Please forgive me for last night. And he looked at me and he went, what? I'm like, well, I'm practicing ho'oponopono, Ethan. You know this stuff. You grew up with this. I have to ask for forgiveness, and so do you. It's got to be both ways. It can't be one-sided. Do you guys all get that? So I said to him, please forgive me. He said, for what? I said, I think it was a little overboard when I said I was going to end you. He's like, Dad, when you stood up, I thought you were going to end me. The fact that you only told me, I was relieved. And he said, of course I forgive you. And I was like, okay. And then he goes, Dad, please forgive me. And he said, you and he goes, I feel like you're my best friend. I come to you with my problems. I come to you when I have an issue. And he goes, I would never want to disrespect you. I feel like that was disrespectful. I know when you're in dad mode that I can't say those kind of things. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, you really can't. Not in front of other people. It doesn't work. And we fine. And now I asked him permission, can I share it? Not because I want to relive it. Do you notice I don't have any baggage around the fact that he said that to me. I'm using it as an example. I went overboard. Now here's the thing, right? If someone else triggered you and you're sitting there going, yeah, they're the one that needs to ask for forgiveness, if you didn't have any part in it, there wouldn't have been an argument. You want to know what? It takes courage to look at your son and say, please forgive me, when you know that he's the one that initiated it. Most people sit there and go, he's the one that's wrong. If I didn't have anything to deal with, I wouldn't have said those words to him. I would have just calmly held a boundary. I remember when Ethan threw a tantrum one time, came home. My son loved to be outdoors, and he threw this tantrum. He's standing at the front. He's screaming, I want to go outside, Dad, I want to go outside. I'm like, it's pouring rain, buddy. We're not going, I want to go outside. He kept crying and crying. I actually called my mom. It was the first time one of my kids ever lost their shit. And as a parent, you're like, I don't call my mom and find out. So I'm talking to my mom. Mom, he's crying. Well, just let him go for 3 minutes. That's all you would do. I'm like, he's at 5. And she goes, oh, God, karma's real. I'm like, Mom, this is not helpful right now. He let it all out. Now, here's the thing. I didn't start screaming back at him. He was just crying, and I just stood there. I'm like, buddy, I love you. Let it out, and when you're done and it's not raining, we'll go outside. When he said that to me, if I can't react like, hey, buddy, that doesn't work. You don't get to call me that in front of your friends. Calm. I have something to deal with, so I got to ask for forgiveness. Does this make sense? It actually takes more courage to do that, to be the dad and say, hey, please forgive me. If you had a fight with someone and they were 90% responsible, you still got that 10%, you need forgiveness for that. You all good with this? Yeah. Hala heva. Those are simple. Eno is when there's intent. Eno is when there is an intention behind it. Now, intention can range from something silly. Like, I know none of you would ever do this, but have you ever known someone that holds on to something just to get revenge later? Like you're in a relationship, you ask your partner a question, maybe they hear you, maybe they don't, they ignore you, they're doing something, you ask again, there's no answer, and you're like, okay, I'll make sure I get them back for this one. You wait a good week, you're at a restaurant, your partner asks you something, you look over to the side. They ask you again, you look over to the side. They ask you, are you intentionally ignoring me? And you're like, yeah, now you know how it feels from last week. I know none of you would ever do that. But your ex that did that to you? That's an eno, because eno is intent. And then there's an extreme. So I want to share with you an extreme. Where were we? We were in San Diego, and there was one about 3 rows back. What's your name, sir? Yeah. Brian. So you're sitting right over where Brian's sitting. Her name's Naomi. She gave me permission to share this. It's actually written up in my book on Ho'oponopono. And Naomi, she had a white t-shirt on, overalls on top of it. Her hair was pulled back. She had no makeup on, and there was clear dark circles under her eyes. And I'd kind of noticed her as I was teaching. I'm thinking, okay, I'm grateful that she's here, because it looked like she was dealing with something pretty big. And she raised her hand, and I said, yes, Naomi, what's your question? We were at this point, and part of the process is you're bringing this person out in your mind, and you're asking and giving, you're asking for forgiveness, and you're giving forgiveness. So you're bringing the person out, and you're giving and receiving forgiveness. And she raised her hand. She said, I have a question. I'm like, yeah, what's your question, Naomi? She said, I don't know who wronged me. I don't know the person, and I need to do ho'oponopono. What should I do? I said, please forgive me. I don't usually need content. I've never been asked this before. Like, usually you know who wronged you. I said, can you please explain, like, how do you not know the person that wronged you? And she said, the first night that I was in the military, I was in the barracks, and I was given the date rape drug. I was roofied, and I don't remember who raped me. And I need to be pono with this. I need to be free of this baggage. I have been carrying it for years at this point. And I mean, the whole room was just, everyone's heart got tugged on that one. I'm like, Naomi, trust the process, I said. You have an energetic connection. The blocking of the memories, you're still energetically connected to this person. So maybe to be a dark figure, maybe it'll be shadowy, but just trust the process and it's going to work. And she said, okay, got it. The woman sitting next to Naomi, her hand shot up and she said, I have a problem with ho'oponopono right now. I said, okay, what's your problem? She said, why does Naomi have to tell a rapist, please forgive me too? There's no way she should be asking for forgiveness from a rapist. You guys all get that? Naomi, before I could answer, turned to her and said, I don't care. I'm going to do it. I need to be free of the baggage. It's so weird. The person who has suffered the most, they're ready to just do it. They're like, I want to jump right in. I had to answer her question, though, because other people in the room were curious, like, why do you have to do that? Why does it have to be both ways? I said, there are two answers to this, and no one in here is going to like the first one. Even I don't like the first one. I studied abnormal psychology. The person that shot Ronald Reagan believed he was protecting Jodie Foster. As crazy as that sounds, perpetrators believe that you have done something wrong and that there's a need for forgiveness for that. And the woman sitting there going, you're right, I don't like that one. I said, the second one is going to make you feel better. I looked at Naomi, I said, Naomi, since the rape occurred, since the incident, have you done anything that you need forgiveness for? She said, 100%. I have wished death on this person. I have wished death on my commanding officer, and that's not who I am, and I need to be forgiven for wishing that upon another human being. Do you guys all get that? So it's not Naomi saying, please forgive me for the rape. It's please forgive me for whatever I need to be free of who I've become since that incident. Does this help? So if someone who has really wronged you and you're like, I had nothing to do with it, I need to forgive them, and that's the biggest aspect is you got to forgive them, you still have to ask for forgiveness. Which sometimes people go, well, what if you never did anything? How do you know? How do you know you didn't cross a boundary? Come on, has anyone ever crossed your boundary and you didn't tell them? Yeah, okay. So like when I do this with my kids, even if I haven't done anything wrong, maybe I'm not aware of it. Maybe Skylar texted me and I didn't text her back in a timely manner that she needed, and she just hasn't told me. So when I'm doing this process, I got to say, I forgive you, and please forgive me too. The power of this process is in the forgiveness aspect of it. So it's I forgive you, please forgive me. Now, sometimes people ask, well, okay, so like with Ethan, what if Ethan doesn't forgive you? Okay, well, that's his path. Sometimes people get really caught up on this whole idea. We're doing this process in your mind. So let's say you had a fight with someone, and you now do ho'oponopono. You forgive them, and they don't have the tool or technique. Okay, and they are going to be different around you because you did forgiveness. Does this make sense? So like the guy that I fired, he didn't do ho'oponopono. He came in, and I had done it. So the firing went better because I was pono. I was calm about it, kind of like Ethan throwing a tantrum. So if the other person, the actual individual itself, if they don't forgive you, like in their own world, by you forgiving it, it frees you of the baggage, and you're no longer playing that game of push and pull, going back and forth. Does this help? Okay. When you do the process, you're doing it in your mind, and it does impact the other person. I have had people who have done this process, gone back home and said, my partner's different, my kid's different. The woman that said that she had been assaulted and that I said, you still have something inside of you that you're projecting out onto other people. You remember I told you that story yesterday? Well, when she did Ho'oponopono that night, she's like, she gained the forgiveness. And her mom, she said, sounded different. So people sound different, they act different because you're different. The energy that you have is different. At the most extreme, there's a woman that I'm working with one-on-one. She has 2 kids. She has twins. And when they were born, there were some complications, and she never got to physically connect. She always had the mindset, because I didn't have that physical touch. You know, the studies that show how you want to touch your baby right away to make that bond. She's like, I didn't have it. She said from the time that they are like 3, they're 3 going on 4 right now. And I did this process with her. I did a full breakthrough session, and we did Ho'oponopono. She said she could remember one time in the entire life of her 2 kids where one of them said, I love you, Mommy. They never expressed love to her. After doing Ho'oponopono, she went back home, and the kids during the week began to argue over who loves Mommy more. I got on the first call with her because I'm coaching her. So we did a breakthrough session. She got on the call. This brought me to tears. She goes, I have never experienced so much love from another human being in my life. My kids are loving on me. They're affectionate. They tell me, I love you, Mommy. She's like, just yesterday, they're arguing. Who loves Mommy more? She goes, I didn't do anything to them. I said, your energy was different, and kids are sensitive to energy. Your energy is different, and all of a sudden now, there was an opportunity for them to be able to connect with you. So by you doing the work on yourself, that impacts other people around you. This make sense? Okay, so hala. Hala is to miss the path. Heva is to go overboard. Ino is to have intent. You are required to give and receive forgiveness in all of these instances, because you only hurt one person by holding on to this. You only hurt yourself. Now, Naomi, she did the process. I wrote this up in the book, and by the way, I use a different name in the book, and recently she gave permission to use her name now. She was going through a lawsuit at that time, and so she preferred not to have that name put in the book, and I wanted to respect that. Now she's done it. She actually has come and assisted and shared. She comes in the next day. She's wearing a dress. Her hair is down. She's got makeup on. She looks like a completely different person. I actually got her the mic and said, Naomi, how's it going? And she stood up and she said, I want to share something with you all. I've been suicidal. Now, I want you to know, if I had known she was suicidal, I would have had her work one-on-one with someone. I wouldn't have done it as a group process. She had experienced it years before. One time through Ho'oponopono, she's like, I finally slept last night. I have had no self-harm thoughts. She goes, I feel free of this baggage that I have been carrying for years. One time through, the entire thing was gone. I wrote that up in my book because it was such a powerful study. Now, here's the thing. Naomi, it had happened years earlier, and she was so ready to let it go that one time through, got rid of all the baggage. Skylar, it was within a week, week and a half of Carmen passing away. Maybe it was 2 weeks. And that's why I think she had to do it over and over again. So sometimes people need to do the process more than once. With my dad, I had to do Ho'oponopono pretty much every day after he had passed away. I did it and continued to do it. I haven't done it with him for a while. I feel good right now. And so I think it's the proximity. So some of you may need to do it again. You may also need to do it with other people. So if there are other people who are involved. In my study, everybody got rid of the grudge except 2 individuals. They had a reduction, but they didn't have a full release. And so I followed up with the 2 of them, and with both of them there was an accomplice. So basically, like, one of them was a wrongful termination, and she did Ho'oponopono with her immediate supervisor, but the one above was also responsible for it, so she didn't feel a complete release. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Ho'oponopono with one person, and then I'm going to have you bring out anybody that is related to that person or the incident. And so, for example, Deanna was reminding me of a time where a student thought, okay, I need to be Pono. I think it was with his dad. And then when brought the group out, the brother was there, the mom was there, other people were present, and that you need to become Pono with them. One time I needed to become pono with Ethan. I don't remember what the instance was, and his mom popped out on the stage. My grandparents popped out because it was a part of the process. By forgiving them, I was able to forgive Ethan. Now, I'm going to guide you through this entire thing, and I'm going to explain how to do it in just a moment. One more Hawaiian word, and this is also in your manual in the slide section. It's slide number 72 for those of you who are at home watching this. And the Hawaiian word is ano ai. Ano is seed, and ai is to eat it. The Hawaiian language is very metaphorical. There's only 7 consonants and 5 vowels, so you couldn't get really specific. Ano ai, ano is seed. Ai means to eat it. What it metaphorically means is that what replaces the baggage is a lesson. Ano ai is a lesson. Ano ai is a lesson. And that is what makes the baggage go away. So some of you during the process will get a lesson, a learning. Some information may come in. For example, when Ethan, we had that incident in Italy, my lesson that came in is that I need to have a talk, that Ethan has become a teenager now, and I have to have a different set of boundaries with him than I did before. Ethan just recently graduated from university, and I talked to him, and I sat him down, and I'm like, Ethan, you are no longer a kid anymore, and now you graduated from university. We need to discover who we are now. Like, who are we in our relationship? What is the lessons that we got from while you were going to school? So the ano ai replaces it. Skylar, when she was a kid, she had no fear of the dark. Zero. We actually had to black out her curtains, and no light could be coming under the door. I used to call her my little princess of the dark. I stopped doing that. But she just loved the dark, any light. So I come home from a training one day, and I walk by her room, and her door is open, and there's a night light on. And I look at the night light, and I'm like, what the heck is that? So I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, and we're having breakfast, and I look at Skylar. I'm like, Skylar, why do you have a night light? And she goes, I'm afraid of the dark. And I said, no, you're not. She's like, yeah, I am. I said, Skylar, I used to call you the princess of the dark because you wanted everything blacked out. You're not afraid of the dark. She's like, well, I'm afraid of it now. And I'm like, okay, I can't argue with that. I don't know what made her afraid of the dark, but it didn't matter. So I let it go. And one night I hear the door open, the footsteps. A truck can drive by my house and I'll sleep through it. But those footsteps when they come in the room, parents, right, you wake up. And she walks over and she puts her hand on my shoulder. I said, yes, Skylar. She goes, Daddy, my nightlight went out. Can you fix it? I said, okay, this is a time for an ano ai. I looked at Skylar. I said, Skylar, how did you get in here? And she looked around. She's like, oh, wow, I can see. I said, when your eyes adjust to the dark, you're able to see. So that's why you don't need a nightlight. Do you understand? She said, yes. I said, good, go back to bed. She went back to bed, and the next morning she woke up no longer afraid. The ano ai, the lesson came in. And then she did say, can I have a nightlight in the bathroom? Our bathroom only had a small window, and she said, when I go to bathroom at night, I would like some light. And so I agreed to that. The lesson came in. Now, can she become afraid of the dark again, yes or no? Yeah, she could watch a scary movie. Something could happen. At that point, though, the ano ai came in, no longer afraid of the dark. So that's the lesson. So the lesson replaces the baggage. Make sense? Okay. So I want to explain the process. I want to go over how to do the process. I want to begin with, I was taught to do this by elders. My dad studied with Papa Bray for a number of years. I learned it from him. My dad also studied with Morna Simeona, who was Hugh Len. Hugh Len and Joe Vitale came up with the Ho'oponopono prayer. His teacher was Morna Simeona. My dad actually studied with her as well. This is the technique that she originally taught. Let me explain to you why they came up with the prayer. In the Hawaiian culture, you don't teach until your teacher says you're ready to teach. Period. In most ancient cultures, that is the way. You're not a teacher until your teacher says you're a teacher. I was made a kumu by Uncle George. He gave me permission to teach this stuff. I've been taught by elders. Morna Simeona, the first time she came to the mainland and taught Ho'oponopono, within a week, a couple people that took the class were out there teaching Ho'oponopono. That's a complete disrespect of the Hawaiian culture. So I'm asking you all, if you would please be respectful of the Hawaiian culture. If you know someone that needs this, I have resources for you. Number one, I wrote a book. It's not that expensive. Oh, with my books, if you buy any of my books, please read the entire book. I didn't realize that to write a book, the major strategy is to write 2 chapters and then just kind of cut and paste it. You guys ever read a book that's so repetitive, you're on chapter 12, you're like, yeah, I fucking get it already, right? I'm not going to name the books that I've had that happen with. My book, I didn't do that. Like Ho'oponopono, there's information new in every chapter. There's a book. It explains how to do it. I had permission to write that. I have a recording of it. You can give that to someone. You're not ready to take someone through Ho'oponopono, and I teach at Huna, how do you do that? I teach how. I'm going to do a chant to set the energy. I'm going to do a Hawaiian chant to set the energy for the process. You have to be able to do the chant to do this. And so if you know someone that needs it, please give them one of the resources or have them come to the prac training. Have them come here so that they're able to experience. You guys agree to that? Now, on the flip side of it, now that I'm teaching this to you, you have permission to do this yourself. I recommend doing it every night. We do it every night. One of the ways that we're able to reboot so quickly after doing a training is because we do Ho'oponopono. I do Ho'oponopono with you guys every night. When I went to my room last night, I did it. Not because I wanted to disconnect from you. I want to see you guys grow and evolve as students, and I wanted to be able to reset my energy, have a good night's sleep, wake up, and be ready to go today. Any of you who do counseling work, coaches, this is going to help you so much. Like after seeing a client, you do Ho'oponopono, hits a reset button, and it is so, so helpful. Yeah? So the process is all done in your mind. It goes like this. Ho'o means to make. Pono means right. By saying it twice, it's making it right with yourself and others. So Ho'oponopono. How we're going to do this, and I'm going to guide you through the process. Those of you who are watching this on the video, I'm going to guide you through the entire process. So you guys are going to have your eyes closed, and I'm going to take you through doing this. The first thing you're going to do is I'm going to have you imagine a stage kind of below you and in front of you. So it's kind of like you're above the stage, and it's kind of like from where I am to where the floor is over there. In the Hawaiian term, an ahu, a papa, a platform that the people that you're going to do Ho'oponopono with are going to come out and stand on. What you're going to first do is have an infinite source of love healing energy come into the top of your head and fill you up. Now, I want to be respectful of your path. If you believe in God, if you believe in higher self, if you believe in spirit, or just energy, whatever source you want this energy to come from, it comes from your source. In the Hawaiian culture, it was either coming from your own higher self or from source energy, God, if that's the label that you want to use. I had a client that really needed to do Ho'oponopono. And when I work with someone, they at least need to come and do a prac training. They need to at least come and do a practitioner training. And he said to me, I didn't do Ho'oponopono during the training. He said, because I wasn't sure, you do a Hawaiian chant, and I'm devout in my faith. I believe in Jesus. And he said, so I wasn't really 100% comfortable. I said, please forgive me. This may have been a gorilla for you, or maybe I missed the path and didn't share this. The energy that heals you up to make the forgiveness possible comes from your source. If you want to do it from Jesus, you totally can. And he went, really? I took him through the process, and he credits it to helping him get back on track with his wife. So extremely grateful. When he listens to the recording, for him, his source is Jesus. So it can be God, Spirit. In fact, the chant that I do is very metaphorical, and it asks for your source to be present during the process. Then, after you're all healed up, we'll have the first person come out onto the stage, and I'm going to have you say, I forgive you. Please forgive me too. You're going to get the forgiveness in both directions. If there's anything you then need to say, I'm going to give you a moment to say anything that you need to say. Like if there's something you got to let out, anything. Now, this is the point where the prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer, was derived from this. First of all, you don't say I love you in the Hawaiian culture. I think that wouldn't be appropriate. For example, when Naomi was doing Ho'oponopono with someone who had assaulted her, in the Hawaiian culture, you wouldn't say, I love you. You're giving forgiveness with love. That's how they came up with that part of the prayer. Does this make sense? So the energy that you're sending out is with love. Actually saying you loved someone was very exclusive in the Hawaiian culture. What you would say is, like, for example, in the Hawaiian language, I wouldn't say I love you guys as a student. I would say I malama. Malama is to cherish, and it's a different quality of love. So I appreciate the prayer. I really do, because it's gotten Ho'oponopono out there. More people come in and understand it. Please leave your prior knowledge at the door and experience the actual process itself. Now, there is one part of the prayer that you do, and it's thanking. You thank them for the lesson. You don't thank them for what they did. You don't thank someone for assaulting you. You thank them for the lessons. That's the ano I. So it's, I forgive you, please forgive me. And I'm going to say this on the mic. I'm going to say this to you guys when we go through the process. I forgive you, please forgive me. And then it's going to be anything that you need to say, and it's thanking them, and it's healing them up with aloha, with love. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut the aka connection. There's a connection between you and the individual, and you're going to cut that connection. Aka, it's just like an umbilical cord. The power of the process is not in the cut, it's in the forgiveness. It's how sincere you are with saying, I forgive you, please forgive me. Does this make sense? Okay, so here's how it's going to go, and in just a moment, we'll jump right into doing this. So first of all, we'll start off with a little bit of deep breathing. I'm going to do a chant to set the energy for it. That's what you're supposed to do from a cultural perspective, and I'll explain what the chant means. Then what we're going to do is begin with our deep breathing, and I have you close your eyes, and then I'm going to just guide you through the process. I'm going to have you make a stage. I'm going to have you get healed up first. Then we'll bring that one person that you're focusing on, either someone that has wronged you, someone you want to reboot with, or a person who has passed away. You're going to bring them out onto the stage. Going to heal them up. You're going to open up your heart and heal them up so that forgiveness is possible. I remember one time I read a transcript, Morna Simeona, someone asked her, what happens if the person on the stage doesn't forgive you? And she responded with, it's in your mind. You should have control over the answer. I thought that was so cute. Then she followed up with, heal them up a little bit more and realize the lesson is what's important, and to get the lesson you need to give and receive forgiveness. After you've forgiven that one person, we'll have them move over to one side of the stage, and then you're going to bring out the group. Just trust your gut on this one. Just trust your core. Anyone else that you need to become pono with, in order to be pono with this person, that will be in the group. So for example, if I was doing this with Ethan, I would just trust my gut. Anyone else that I need to be pono with, have them come out as a group. Heal up the group completely, ask for forgiveness, give forgiveness, and then we're going to bring everyone together and we're going to cut the connection. Does that make sense? Now, I'll give you guys a moment from a reboot perspective. Now, if you're doing this to reboot with someone, if you're doing this to reboot, what I want you to do is I want you to, after the cut, is in your mind you just think of them and you reconnect. How many of you ever known that you should call someone, you call them and they're like, God, I was just thinking of you? How many of you ever had that happen? Or you're thinking of someone and then they call you, right? Aka connection works better than AT&T. Right? You feel these connections, people who are sensitive to energy. And so by cutting it, if someone is sensitive to energy, they may even reach out to you. Oh, that reminds me. Please turn off your cell phones. Let's all turn off our cell phones right now. I had an incident occur. It was kind of funny, though, actually. I'm just putting mine on Do Not Disturb. There you go. This guy, he's sitting in the aisle, and we go to do ho'oponopono, and his phone rings. And the lights were on enough that I could see him, and I'm like, I looked at him, and he's like, sorry. He turns it off. He thought he put it on silent. It rings again. He can't get it to stop ringing. It's too dark in the room, so he actually gets up and walks out the door, listens from outside to do the process. He comes in after we're done, and he comes up to me. He's shaking a little bit. He's like, I'm kind of freaking out. I said, why? He goes, I was doing ho'oponopono with my ex because I need to be done. I'm getting into a new relationship, and your whole talk about I don't want to repeat what I just had because it was bad. We broke up months ago. She's called me 7 times and texted me 12 times. It's like she knew I was disconnecting. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And he's like, no, it's not. What do I do from a Huna perspective? I'm like, change your number. He said, like, isn't there a chant or something? I'm like, no, dude, it's block her. Change your number or block her. But you got to do ho'oponopono first. He did, and I think he ended up talking to her and being like, it's done. He said he was able to bring things to completion in a calm way because he did the process. And so, yeah, I make sure your phone is off, because if you're doing this with an ex and they start calling you, you can share that story when you come back from the lunch break. It's kind of cool when that happens. Yeah, I know. So other thing is, and do we have Kleenex boxes? How many of you know that you have active tear ducts? Get your hand up. We're going to hand you a Kleenex real quick. We're going to handle logistics before I start chanting. So if you know you have active tear ducts, the assistants are going to come over and get you some Kleenex. I'll tell you what, When Skylar did her practitioner training, she was sitting right in the front. I told the story of Carmen. I lost it, man. I was bawling in front of the home run. I needed some Kleenex. If you need two, you can take two. We got a lot. We got some over here too. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that. Good question. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure that you guys are all clear on the process. So if you have done something, then what you would be saying in the process is you'd bring the person out and you would say, "Please forgive me." This is what the whole process is for. If you had done something wrong, you bring the person out and you say, "Please forgive." That's what I did with Ethan when I said I was going to end him. I put him on the stage and I healed myself up. I healed him up. And with total sincerity, I said, "Ethan, please forgive me," in my mind, because I wanted to be vulnerable before I talked to him. And I said, "And I forgive you for what you said." And in my mind, I even said, that wasn't overboard. I went overboard and my emotions got the best of me. Please forgive me for that. I want to grow and evolve and be a better dad. And those are the things that I remember saying that in my mind. And then I cut the connection and I went to bed. And when I woke up the next morning, I felt completely different. When he came downstairs, there was no grumpiness on my part towards him, nor him towards me. And so this process isn't if someone wronged you. Please forgive me for not saying that. It's also if you've wronged someone else. Because you're saying to them, "Please forgive me." You're asking for that. And sometimes people say, "Well, I want to put me on the stage. I need self-forgiveness." There's a different technique for that because you can't cut with yourself. Do you guys get that? You can't cut with yourself. Here's the thing, though. This person on the stage is not the actual person. It's your projection of them. So that's actually you. Do you guys get that? Like when I put Ethan on the stage that night, that's not actually him. It's my projection of him. So when I say, "I forgive you, please forgive me," that is actually self-forgiveness. So a person who has wronged you the most or you have wronged, by gaining, giving, and receiving forgiveness, you're actually forgiving you in this process along with it. I had a bunch of teenagers come through trainer training this year. Absolutely incredible. One of them came up to me and she said, "I have a question." And I said, "What?" She's like, "How do you define an adult?" And I said, "I have one way of defining adult. It has nothing to do with age. It's the day you stop blaming your parents for you being screwed up." No, that's the day I think you become an adult. Because up until that moment where you're blaming your parents, your parents' parents screwed up your parents. There's only two reasons to have kids: free labor and experimentation. And taxes. I will forever remember this group, not just because we're doing the recording, because from this point forward, there are now 3 reasons to have kids. Free labor, taxes, and experimentation. I say experimentation because your parents screwed you up, so you got to pass that forward, man. You got to pay that shit forward. Some of you are like, "Well, what?" Don't worry, just bring them to a prac training. We'll take care of them. They'll be totally okay. No, so for some people, when they have a child, it makes them realize that their parents were doing the best they could. Do you guys remember that from last night? People are doing the best they can with the resources they have. Pretty sure you guys learned that last night. And that was a big aha moment for me. And the day you stop blaming your parents and realize they were just doing the best they could, and it was your interpretation of what happened, that's the day you become an adult. So I love putting parents, mom and dad, put mom and dad on the stage. Yeah? Does this help? Does that get your question too? I'll repeat the question too also. Yeah. Okay, so the question is about cutting the cord. What if you're cutting the cord with someone and you're wanting to reconnect, but that person doesn't want to connect? That's going to be a decision that you make technically by just thinking of them, you're reconnecting. And here's the thing. Thank you so much for asking this. I have seen this make a difference so many times where a mom and dad, a child and a parent aren't talking anymore. Or I had a mom come through here who, I think it was her daughter, wasn't talking to her anymore. And I'm like, she's like, I want to reconnect. Do the process. Do Ho'oponopono. It's going to change how you feel. It changes the energetic connection. And when you go to reconnect, it's going to be a new connection. And it creates that opening for people to then be able to possibly reconnect with you. I've seen that happen. I've absolutely seen that happen where a person doesn't necessarily want to reconnect. My client right now, her daughter, yeah, this actually just happened. Her daughter stopped talking to her and literally texted her, said, I never want to hear from you again. There was like a blow up. She came out and did the training. I did a live session with her. I said, we need to do Ho'oponopono. And she's like, my daughter doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm like, and you need to be Ponno to create the space for the possibility of a reconnect. Because if you hold on to the baggage, there's no space. Does that make sense? Powerful. Because what happened was I took her through Ho'oponopono. She went back home. She lives in Toronto. And I got on a call with her this past, I think it was Monday. And on Tuesday, there was a gathering where both of them had to be there. And the daughter reached out and said, I would like to talk to you when we're there. And she was so grateful on the phone because she's like, my daughter said she never wants to speak to me again. I thought it was done. I changed and I was just, okay, I'm going to see her and I'm going to be cordial. And it created the space for a reconnect. So hold on to that as the mindset. Yeah? You guys ready to do this? Yes. Got one more quick question. Yes. It's the same process if the person is no longer here. So when my father passed away, yes, it was an empty vessel, right? The Hawaiians believe that the soul has now moved on. So you're disconnecting from the empty vessel to allow the memories to live on and to become even clearer. Does that help? Yeah. My father and I didn't have a great connection except for a very short part of my life. By his own admission, he's like, I'm not a good dad. Anyone that's met him, he would literally say that from stage. And you know, because you got to meet him. He would literally say from stage, that's just not a part of my path. I'm not a good dad. And I couldn't ever remember him doing things like taking me to fly a kite or to go to the beach. After he passed away and I disconnected, I had a vivid recollection of him teaching me to swim at the ocean. And if you would ask me before that, none of that shit had ever happened. It's like all of a sudden these positive memories, because I let go, they came flying in. It was very healing for me. It was very healing. Yeah, you're welcome. You guys ready to do this? Okay, so I want to start off by doing a chant. And the chant, Noho Wana Kea Kua, is a chant asking for a higher source to be here. Noho Wana Kea Kua I Kana Hele Hele. In Hawaiian, it means that, this is going to sound weird, but remember, the language is very metaphorical. It means God is here in the forest. Hele Hele is a forest. Ialai iae keiki ohu ohue ka ua koko means that you see instances of God or Spirit in these beautiful things. Kaua koko. It's like, have you ever been somewhere, because you guys have like forests here where if you have like a mist and the light hits it a certain way, a rainbow can appear in front of you. So the person who composed this chant was using that as an analogy that you see God here in the physical when you see someone smile, like your child smiling at you, or you see someone doing an act of kindness, or you see something magical like that, like a rainbow. And then it asked for a protection. Malue hoi is for a protection to be there for you and for your source to be present. The third line talks about bringing your source present for this to happen and to be there to protect you as you go through the process. I don't usually chant with a microphone, and because we're filming this, I'm just going to take the microphone off just so the people who are watching the video can. So as you hear the chant, just go ahead and connect with energy and connect with your higher source. No ana ke akua I kana hele hele yalai e ke ki oho e kawa koko una kino malui kalani malue hoe e ho lumai ana o kane kona kau o mako noa ua ikea. Let's go ahead and begin the process with our deep breathing. Breathing in through the nose. Let's go ahead and do 4 more. Excellent. As you continue to breathe normally, what I want you to do is go ahead in your mind, construct a stage that is below you and also and in front of you. So the stage is just slightly below you and in front of you. And as you create that stage, what I want you to imagine is that your source of healing energy is directly above your head. Your higher source, God, whatever it is, universal energy, or just even energy itself. And allow that to just flow down into you, healing you up completely inside and out, so that forgiveness is possible. Have it flow down inside of you, filling up your feet, up to your ankles, filling up to your knees, both of your thighs, filling up to your waist, filling up your torso, your back, your stomach, up to your chest, your upper back. Continuing to heal you up completely, flowing down into both of your arms, to the tips of your fingers, filling up your neck, your head, and overflowing out the top of your head, completely healing you up inside and out. I'm going to keep this energy flowing the entire time. And what I want you to do now is have the person that you're focusing in on come out onto the stage first, just the one person. And go ahead and open up your heart and allow all of the energy that you have built up inside to flow out of your heart and flow right down and pour into them, healing them up completely inside and out. Excellent. Now what I want you to do in your mind, you can say to them, in your mind, just go ahead and say to them, please forgive me. I forgive you too. Give and receive that forgiveness. Heal them up with aloha, with love, and give and receive that forgiveness so that you can become pono with them. Remember that the lessons will replace any baggage. And to be pono with them, it will allow you that opportunity to be free of your baggage, to reboot, or to allow the memories to live on. Go ahead and take a moment now to say anything that you need to say to this person so that you are able to become pono with them. Go ahead and take about another minute just to say anything that you need to say so that you can become Ponno with them. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Give and receive the forgiveness. And as you wrap up with this person, go ahead and thank them for being there on the stage. Thank them for the lessons. And go ahead and have this person move over to one side of the stage or the other. Either side is fine. Now, trusting your gut, what I want you to do is go ahead and ask your unconscious mind to bring anyone else out onto the stage that you're connected with, that is related to this person or to the situation that occurred. Go ahead and have that group come out onto the stage. Open up your heart and go ahead and allow that energy that's still flowing into the top of your head to flow out of your heart down onto the stage, healing them up completely inside and out. And as a group, go ahead and say to the entire group, I forgive you. Please forgive me too. Give and receive the gift of forgiveness so that it's in both directions. Heal them up with love. And if there's anything that you need to say to anyone in this group, go ahead and take a moment to do that now so that you can become Ponno with this group. Heal them up completely. And go ahead and begin the forgiveness process. Lalo kia uli o kalava, elele I ka ua nui mā kaina, wala e ne ka pua lehua, ohu kana hele I nā puolo ula ula, ola ka honua, ola ka lehu o ka honua, I ola maui. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Give and receive the forgiveness. And go ahead and take a moment to thank anybody in this group that you need to thank for being there on the stage. Thank them for the lessons. Excellent. Go ahead and bring the one person back so that they're all together as a group. And imagine all of the connections between you and everyone on the stage just kind of bundled up all together. And I want you to imagine a blade coming out of the energy from above and just gently floating down and cutting all of the connections. Just allow that blade to gently float down and cut all of the connections between you and all of the people on the stage. And as it cuts the last connection and the blade just disappears beneath your feet, allow all of the people on the stage to just kind of fade away. Let the stage just dissolve and let all the remaining connections just dissolve back to energy, leaving you Ponno inside and out. As that blade just gently cuts the last connection, allow all the people on the stage to disappear, let the stage fade away, allow all the remaining connections to dissolve back to energy, leaving you Ponno inside and out. Excellent. Let's go ahead and do 4 deep breaths to come out of the process. One more. And go ahead and open your eyes. Nice fade. Okay, we'll go ahead and take the lights up. Those of you who are watching the video can bring your lights back up now. Let's do a quick stretch just to get the energy moving. Everyone go ahead and stand up. Okay. Go ahead and stretch over to your right. I'm doing left because I'm mirroring you. Over to the left. Okay. Go all the way down. Touch your toes. Touch your knees. Touch your nose. Reach up high on your pinky toes. Okay. You can go and have a seat. How was that? Yeah? Yeah. It's such a healthy process. It's such a healthy space to be in when you're Ponno. How many of you feel lighter? How many feel like lighter? Any of you know that you need to take some kind of action? So, yeah. After I did Ho'oponopono with Ethan, I'm like, okay, I got to have a talk with him in the morning. That can happen. That can definitely happen as well. Do we have the microphone? Matt, do you have the mic? Does anyone in here have a share, something that they have powerful experience during the process that you'd love to share? Anybody? No? You guys just shy because there's a camera going on? You got one? Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, so the day before the training, Wednesday, I lost my dad. And he had a long battle with dementia and Parkinson's. And this process just touched my heart so much. Just a beautiful way of cutting that cord.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much. My heart goes out to you. I have no words. Yeah, as I shared, I lost my dad last year, and we were in Houston. I found out the night before the training was going to begin. I was at dinner with Mandy and Mitra. Mandy's one of the other trainers, and Mitra was running the back of the room. And Valen and Nicole were in another city. Either of them would have dropped everything to be there, so I would have had time. But they were in another city teaching as well. And Deanne, baby Joseph, was still breastfeeding. And Deanne's like, I'll go there, and if anything, my dad would have wanted this to go on and would have been angry with me if I hadn't taught. But I had to share with the group, if I could be anywhere else, I would be. He passed away in South Africa. I couldn't even go to see him if I wanted to. And I taught. And Ho'oponopono was what allowed me to get through get through the day. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yep, it was a process. Deanne was like going to get on a plane, and there's no way I'm jeopardizing. You can stop producing milk if you don't breastfeed for a good couple of days, and that wasn't worth it. So it's a journey. If you need to do it again, I definitely did, because anytime I brought it up, I would do it. And I do Ho'oponopono to get to where I am right now. I did Ho'oponopono daily, still do, and that's why I recorded a 7-minute version of it. It's anyone you think of. And so, yeah, sometimes my dad at night pops up on the stage, and I just give him aloha, and there's not a lot to say, but I still say, I forgive you, please forgive me, because of anything. So thank you so much for sharing that. Can we give him a big thank you? Thank you. So we're going to go to lunch now. And those of you who are watching on the video as well, this is a moment for you guys to kind of just ground. There was a fair amount of energy during the process, and release work is an energy release. So make sure you eat a healthy meal, drink a lot of water. If you can, if the weather permits, go out in nature. It looked like the weather was really nice today, so going outside will help you ground. And before we go to lunch, I know that Deanne shared this yesterday. Would it be all right if I just gave you guys just kind of like a big picture of what happens at Huna? Just maybe for like 5-10 minutes, talk about it. Keep it really simple. So I know that Deanne said this yesterday. I'm so grateful for the gift that my dad gave us, and this training, not just the training company, the teachings and how he created it. We as a family, I started running it in 1997. My father and I we had the same philosophy. Under promise, over deliver. You show up, and we just pour our hearts out on the stage and just give you a ton of information. Those of you who are meant to go on to a future training, you will. And those of you who aren't, this is what you were meant to receive. How many of you have already gotten more than you thought you would have for the price point of this training? I know, I appreciate you sharing. I've had people go, the morning segment alone yesterday was more than I thought we'd get. And we're just really not into doing, 2-3 hour talks on future trainings. I'm going to keep this super simple. How many of you felt energy during the chant or during the process? Hands up nice and high. Good. Go to Huna. Do you remember that word hala? I get people that reach out to me on Facebook that send emails to the office. I watched your YouTube video. I read your book. I don't feel energy. Do you realize, those of you who put your hand up, you have a gift. You have a gift that people crave. I meet so many people that they're like, I wish I could just feel energy or see energy like you do. You can develop that. I mean, at Huna, we teach that. But those of you who put your hand up, at the end of the day, I really don't care if it's Huna. I care about you. I would rather you be doing something with that gift, and it doesn't matter to me whether it's Huna or another teaching. You have a gift, and you should do something with it. If how you pick what energy teachings you follow is what resonates with you. I had, Deanne is a Kumu in our lineage. Aren't Deanne and Valen badass? Aren't they amazing? Deanne's a Kumu and Valen's an Alakai. And I shared about Valen in the last, yesterday. I shared about her lineage. Such a powerful connection with that. Deanne, I didn't actually remember Deanne from her prac. She did master prac with another trainer. And Deanne was assisting. And I heard her chanting. We, as assistance team, we gather up. And I heard her chanting, and my hair stood up. And I'm like, she's a part of the path. She is a part of the path. One of the best compliments for both of them. My son, after watching both of them teach, and my son, who is an absolute, he teaches at Huna, and he absolutely committed to carrying this lineage on. He said, without any doubt, he looked at both of them and said, the lineage just flows through them. He said, it's so beautiful to see. You know it resonates with you, the energy teaching, because your spirit feels connected to it the moment it's talked about. That's it. Simple. So if Huna resonates with you, it's a 9-day training. Let me just give you the big picture details, and we're going to go to lunch. It's 9 days, and it's on the Big Island. It's on the Kohala Coast at a place called Hapuna, and it's originally from there. It's from the Big Island. And my son is part Hawaiian. My son does have Hawaiian blood, and his family also comes. His Hawaiian blood comes from that area. And the first day of Huna, what we do is we do a complete release. So the first day we do anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, let go of all your baggage, plus a full ho'oponopono. A full ho'oponopono with everyone you're connected with. And then on the second day, we then do a process of connecting you from the lineage to energy, to the source of energy. Not to me, but through the lineage, connecting you to the energy. And we also, at the end of that day, we do a connection to higher self. In the Native American and Native Hawaiian tradition, if you were going to be guiding someone else, you needed to go through a ceremony to connect to your higher self and strengthen that bond, and we do that at the end. So by day 2, you're connected to energy, and you're connected to your higher self in a way to be able to guide others. Day 3, we have hands-on energy work. Now, I don't want to just talk about energy. I want you guys to be able to do something with it. So if you do any other type of work, like if you do coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, energy is what you're already doing. Now you know how to do it with conscious intention, and you learn how to work with another person and help them let go of baggage just using energy. So you can apply that. My teacher of hula, part of Uncle George's lineage, his name is Etua. He teaches hula at the Palace on the Big Island. He comes in and there's optional hula classes in the morning. And yeah, I call them optional, but you really got to go take them. If you truly want to have an experience of Hawaii, I've had people say, I've been to Hawaii a number of times, and having that experience of not just the hula, but also the huna, it just kind of teaches you really what the culture is all about. Kumu Etui, he comes in and I call it optional, but I tell everyone you got to go. And a lot of men, sometimes men are a little bit nervous to go to hula because they think that only women dance. Well, first of all, men were the original dancers, and they used to dance in the temples. And second of all, men, hula teaches you how to really move your hips well. Never underestimate the power of being able to properly move your hips. It's so funny because I look out at the room when I say that, and sometimes I see guys like this, and the women are just like this. Hula is very spiritual, and Uncle George would talk about it. In the Hawaiian culture, there was no shame about talking about sex and procreation because it's part of life. They talked openly about it. There were even some dances about it, and we actually did them a couple of hunas ago, and we had so much fun with it. On day, what are we on? On day 4, you delve deeper into energy work, and you learn how to do things like dream interpretation. Dreams are messages from the unconscious. Carl Jung said that. And we don't give you a dream interpretation book. We teach you how to interpret your own dreams. Very different than NLP. Day 5, we go on a field trip. So the level 1s go to a sacred site that was used for healing for hundreds of years called Honaunau. Now open up the energy there. You guys have a connection with it. On day 6, we do a dream time. We do a dream time process to help you be able to awaken in your dream. Bless you. Good release. Just had to let that one go. Release it. Yeah, I had to utilize it though, right? So the dream time process helps you wake up in your dream. On day 7, we go to the volcano. We actually take a field trip. We go up to the volcano. Again, we don't do a lava walk, but we do walk out on the crater. And the crater's been dry for a number of years. And, you know, the crater, this is the crater right here. You guys see that? Crater's a big crystal plate. There's a ton of crystals. Crystals conduct energy. And the lava that's underneath that goes all the way down to the center of the earth. And the interesting thing in the Hawaiian culture, it's very balanced. In most cultures, fire is masculine. In the Hawaiian culture, feminine is fire as well. So we hike out onto the crater, and we find a place, and we meditate and connect with the energy of the center of the earth. So you're absolutely connected with that powerful experience. At the end of it, a lot of times we get these signs. You see the rainbow there? It was actually a double rainbow, and it was going into the crater where we had just hiked. You can faintly see the other rainbow there. That's considered to be a sacred sign. And so we see those kind of things. Day 8, you learn how to do a process to resolve dichotomies that are out of harmony. And then on day 9, what we do is we wrap it all up. There's an initiation, so you get connected up to another type of energy. How many of you heard of Reiki? Like they have symbols in it. There are symbols that come from the lineage as well. And in Hawaiian, they're called opua. And we initiate you into them so that you're able to utilize those as well. It's an incredible experience. We only run it twice a year. It's twice a year. It's every March and September. And the one that we do in Hawaii, Idon, what are the dates for the next? Yeah, that's in like 3 weeks. Okay. Sorry, 17th through, okay. And March is? March 18th to the 26th. And the in-office price, the price if they sign up in the office? $57.95. And here we're taking off how much? Okay, so 2,000, so that's $37.95 here. That includes all the classes, that includes the field trips. It doesn't include room and board. A lot of people choose to stay at an Airbnb or even do room share. We kind of help set that up. And that's for the entire 9 days. Now, there is another class that we have. I know some of you who looked at the schedule. There's a 5-day level 1 Huna where it's level 1 only. There was a big demand. A lot of people that said they can't make it out to Hawaii for 9 days. And we toyed around with it for a while. And we as a team sat down, we brainstormed. It's all of the same content that you would get. It's everything that you would get in the 9-day. Because though we do it in California, there are no field trips. Kumu Etua does fly in for it, and we don't do hula there. So you get like all of the content. Idan actually did that one. Idan actually did the 5-day and then ended up going to level 2 on the Big Island. And so it is a reduced price. It's 5 days. And when is that? It's in December.